the inside story on the issues that affect you and your community. This is Local 12 Newsmakers.
Good morning and welcome to Local 12 Newsmakers. I'm Dan Hurley. Public transportation systems are essential lifelines to thriving metropolitan regions. Nationally, an average of 5% of commuters use public transit. In major metro areas with well-developed rail and bus systems, places like Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., that climbs as high as 11 to 30%. In metropolitan Cincinnati, the proportion using Metro and Tank is only about 2.5%, half of the national average. But that includes 20% of those working in the Central Business District and Clifton Uptown areas, the two largest employment zones in the region. Metro is operated by the Southwest Ohio Regional Transit Authority, SORTA. The SORTA board is made up of 13 people. 7 are appointed by the city of Cincinnati, with Hamilton County commissioners appointing the other 6. The county appointments include 3 from Hamilton County and 1 each from Butler, Claremont, and Warren counties. SORTA finds itself in the middle of a lot of developments at this moment, including the appointment of a new executive director, a new agreement with Tank, the Transit Authority of Northern Kentucky, and a contract to operate the streetcar, among others. To discuss the present and future of Metro, I am joined now by Jason Dunn, the chair of the SORTA board. In his professional life, Mr. Dunn is the Director of Multicultural Affairs and Community Development for Cincinnati USA Convention and Visitors Bureau, where he specializes in ethnic, fraternal, and religious markets. Jason, welcome to Newsmakers.
Thank you very much.
And by the way, there's some recent good news in that area, too, in your business life because of the NAACP convention coming
That's
back.
A great piece for Cincinnati. Yes.
In 2016.
2016, July 2016.
Gee, is there anything else happening in 2016? I wonder why they might be coming to Ohio. But we're not going to talk about that this morning. Okay. SORTA. And you are now chair.
Correct.
How long have you served on the board?
For 3 years. It'll be concluding my 3rd year in 2 weeks.
And what drives you? Why are you interested on a personal level? What makes you committed to SORTA?
So I think if you look at public transportation as a whole, it's a convener. And from getting people to jobs, people to the hospital, people to school, it's just a matter of being a public servant. And as my day job is as the Convention and Visitors Bureau, providing jobs and helping bring fresh revenue to the city, it's just a natural match. So if we can make jobs and also get people to jobs, it helps the city. And that's one of my biggest passions.
You know, one of the things about getting people to jobs is that, and I mentioned the Central Business District, Uptown with all the hospitals and the university. Those are the 2 major employment zones.
Yes.
But there's a lot of employment out on the edge, around 275, Mason, Blue Ash, whatever. And this is a system that has to serve people who live out in the suburbs and commute to the center, and also people who live in the center for jobs who maybe are commuting out to the suburbs.
Correct.
That's a challenge for Metro because the funding model is still something I'm not sure people fully understand. Where does the money come from?
Well, we get our money from the earnings tax, or income tax from the city.
From the city of Cincinnati.
City of Cincinnati, correct. Mostly about maybe $50 million or so is what we get from the city of Cincinnati. The rest comes from revenue and grants and stuff from the federal government. So that's where the majority of our funding comes from.
So the key thing is this city funding.
That is the absolute.
And people, sometimes when people ask, well, why is the service so much better in the city of Cincinnati than once you get beyond the city? There's a funding question involved.
Correct. Right.
Is there any way, I mean, this has been talked about, for 40 plus years now?
Sure.
So is there active discussion among your board to figure out a broader funding model, a way to expand this?
So there's always active discussion about how we can increase revenue, which helps us serve the needs of people outside the city and within the city. So we are looking at options. We are having discussions. In fact, we went out and spoke with several communities about what can we do to help you improve our service and get you to ride the bus from people who don't ride the bus as of right now. And we had discussions, well, what do we need to do? A lot of people talk about circulators within the neighborhood. A lot of people are talking about how do we get regional passes, which we just unveiled. It was a lady, who maybe 19 or 20 years old, who gets up 3 or 4 hours early to go to work at Amazon in Northern Kentucky and gets to her job maybe an hour and a half early, sits in the locker room and waits to an actual start time. So how do we help increase that flow? And it comes down to money. And so we've been talking to politicians, we've been advocating, educating, irritating, and sometimes motivating people to understand the importance of transportation. And with that comes options, and that's what we're doing now. We're discussing where we want to be in 3 to 4 years, what do we need to do to make sure we can maintain the current service, and what do we need to do to make sure we can grow the service. So out of that discussion will come 1 or 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 options that we need to really consider, and then present that to the community and get your input on it.
I mean, that's been talked. There's been lots of models talked about. One would be to expand the sales tax, or maybe probably go to a sales tax rather than the earnings tax or whatever, that would go county-wide or even regional-wide. I mean, that's always problematic.
Right.
Does the board right now have a preferred way of thinking about how to better fund the future of Metro?
Yeah, so I think the board is in a state now where it has to be a collective discussion between the corporations, between the politicians, between the community, and between our stakeholders. We have to first make sure that transportation is relevant, make sure folk really understand what the importance of transportation, and third, if we didn't have transportation, what would that mean to the region? So I think for us, we're at this point, we're educating people on the importance of it, and then we'll become to the rational, logistic piece of, why do we need it, and then what opportunities are there for us to expand it, and that's where we're at this point.
And one of the things to keep in mind here, and there's really good news on this front, is that our metro region is a tri-state, certainly a bi-state,
correct,
functionally a bi-state. And you have just signed a new agreement with the Transportation Authority of Northern Kentucky, TANK. What's that going to do? How will that make life easier for commuters?
So you could take one pass and use it on both sides of the river. I think that's the most simplistic answer to give to you, and it makes it easier. So if not only are we connecting people, we have to make it easy too as well. There's nothing like giving someone something but not telling them how to use it. So as we have the pass, there's opportunities to connect, like Amazon and other organizations and corporations who are across the river, and vice versa. If you're in Kentucky and work all the way out in Kenwood, there's a way to connect. Or if you're in Kentucky and you have to get to Westchester, there's ways to do that as well.
So very practically, what does that mean? So if I live on this side of the river, on the Ohio side of the river, and I work at Amazon, and I get on a Metro bus, and I go downtown, do I then transfer, and I get a transfer that gets me straight onto a tank bus?
You use the same pass, and then it credits based upon how much money you have on that pass.
Okay, so the pass will be the same, and that's all become automated.
Correct, yes.
But the cost, you're not going to lose anything. You're not giving away rides here or anything.
No.
Okay, it's just making it easier for the commuter.
Yes, sir.
And how much interstate operation do you think there is? How many people go from one side of the river to the other? I don't have any statistics.
It depends. It depends on the day. It depends on the time. So I wouldn't want to put it out there because I don't really know the facts, but it depends. It depends on the day and time.
You have just, the board, I'm referring to the board now, have just hired a new CEO.
We're excited about that.
Dwight Farrell. We have a photo of him we'll put up.
Okay.
As you were searching for a new CEO, what were the qualities you were looking for, and why does he fit those qualities?
It's a good question. So we went out and spoke to the communities as well as talking with the board, and one was presence. You have to be able to walk into the room to basically have respect and get respect. Secondly, we have to have someone who's a veteran in the organization or veteran in the industry. He has 30-plus years in the industry in agencies that are the top 9 in the country, one being MARTA, one being DART in Dallas. He started from the bottom. He was a operator, and then worked his way up through management from the CEO.
An operator meaning a driver?
He actually drove a bus.
Just so I understand the lingo.
Yeah. So when I say the bottom, I mean started from as an operator.
He was on the front line. Yeah,
absolutely. He's the front line. Then he worked all the way up to COO in MARTA, and then he was a commissioner or in Fulton County, and now he is a CEO in Cincinnati. So he has every aspect of transportation from the political side to the operating side to the management side, and also this as a driver, or operator rather, that makes him one of the best candidates that we could have selected.
So what's your charge from the board's point of view when you sat down with Mr. Farrell and said, yes, we want you, here's what we want you to do? Yeah. What's your charge to him as he gets started?
Our charge is that we have to educate irritate, advocate, and if we have to, motivate to make sure people understand transit. And I think that's a different perspective from SORTA the last 40 years. We've been kind of conservative, laid back, not really tooting our own horn, and I think that's what we need him to do. Get out in the field. The agency will run itself. It's a wonderful, we have wonderful staff, wonderful operators that will run itself. We need him to go out and be the head and educate people on the importance of transportation. We also need him, frankly, to be in front of development. For a long time, if you have corporations who are out, to your point, out 275 or even coming into Cincinnati, we need to make sure that we're in the beginning stages of corporations coming to Cincinnati, to partner with the corporations, to partner with their constituents and people who work there, our staff, to make sure there's partnerships there. So if we're not in the room, we can't then chase you later on and then try to connect folk. It's better for us to be in the beginning so we can make sure there's ease of doing business with Cincinnati businesses.
So being involved right on the front end of economic development and
Correct.
attracting new companies here.
Correct.
And of course, for a new company to come here, the key thing is the talent here, and do they have access to
Correct.
the talent? And
Yes.
the argument is
Yes.
that Metro is part of that, access
Yes.
to the talent.
With a fourth leg of the stool.
And so when does he start?
January 5th.
January 5th, so right after the new year.
Correct.
And hit the floor running, I hope?
Well, he has to. There's no room for him not to. We went to community organizations, we went to community development corporations, neighborhood commissions, and we asked what they wanted. And we came back with tactics, with the plans that they asked for us. We're going to give him a sheet of paper and a strategy and expect him to fulfill those things, and that's what he's going to do.
Metro also has a relationship on an ongoing basis that's recently been worked out with managing the operations of the streetcar.
Yes.
You know, streetcars in the news all the time, and I don't want to get into all of those details, but it's the question of operations.
Correct.
And what's Metro going to do in relationship to this. So why is Metro interested in being the operator, and what does that mean for your system?
Yeah, so, well, frankly, we are the authority on transportation in the region. So it just makes sense for us to do that. We have the manpower, we have the know-how, we have the skill set, we have the expertise. So for us, it creates a multimodal opportunity for us to kind of force ourselves into a different hemisphere that we haven't been in, and also we help make sure that it operates effectively based upon what the city approves. We'll uphold our contract and make sure that the streetcar does the best it can to maximize the resources that's given to us to do so.
We know just this past week, a group that has been very much promoting the streetcar said that they were going to get ready, start the effort to start planning phase 2 that will
Sure.
take it up to Uptown to Clifton, which of course is connecting the two most important employment areas in our region. Is Metro involved in that movement, or is that happening over here and Metro's over here?
So that's a separate entity.
They are.
Yeah,
believe in
separate entity. So we will support any within budget that the city manager and the city of Cincinnati, or the mayor particularly, and the council approve. So if there's a budget to do a second phase and we are presented that budget, we will maximize that budget to ensure that it's successful. Other than that, there's separate entities.
Now, one of the things that Metro's been doing, just in the past 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever, been selling these inaugural passes. Mm-hmm. How's that been going?
So as I understand it, I believe they're all sold out, as I believe it. So I haven't been keeping track of it, but I think they're sold out. So for that answer, I guess it's going great.
Yeah. Well, I know Sally Hilvers is sitting right over there watching, and my understanding is it's the $25 pass is sold out.
Correct.
But there's still opportunities for the $50 and $100 pass.
There are.
And a number of my coworkers have bought these.
Okay.
And they're metal. They
Yes.
come in a little tin, mm-hmm. Perfect for Christmas giving. Yep. And Sally is now shaking her head and is very happy that we're saying this. So,
okay.
Anyway.
So I would suggest people to go to the website, and the website has all the information about all those things.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
As I said at the beginning, Metro is so much in the middle of where the future of the region is going, because public transit is absolutely essential. So thank you for the work that you've been doing. Thank you for the work you're going to be doing. And I look forward to meeting the new CEO, and we'll get him on Newsmakers as soon as possible.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Stay tuned. New businesses often start small. Stay tuned. After a break, a business committed to micro, not just small, micro, but with a big social agenda.
And we chose to start with microgreens because it is a highly desirable crop by many chefs throughout the city. And we have visions for a much larger operation to take on new markets like lettuces, basil, other varieties of plants that can just serve to grow a lot more jobs.
Waterfields, a startup that provides microgreens to trendy high-end restaurants, also has a larger social mission, generating jobs in economically depressed Lower Price Hill. Welcome back. For 20 years, startup businesses have accounted for all of the net growth of new jobs in America. Entrepreneurs, by nature, think big, but have to start small. That's the case with Waterfields, in Lower Price Hill. It's a small enterprise that focuses on supplying microgreens to local chefs. Small, you get all this? But the business plan includes goals that go well beyond the bottom line to include social change. I am joined this morning by Daniel Divelbiss, the Chief Growing Officer, I love that title, of Waterfields LLC in Lower Price Hill. Daniel, welcome to Newsmakers.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be
Chief
here.
Growing Officer, did you think that one up?
We needed something to put on the card, and we weren't quite sure what would be best. And since we're just at the startup phase, it's almost too early for titles, so we decided to have a little bit of fun with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It could also be farmer.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and I just want to say for people, I had a chance to visit on Tuesday to actually see it. Sometimes what things look like on television is not exactly the same. So it was really great to get a sense of what you're doing there. So what are you doing? What is the business plan? What is the focus of what you're doing?
Well, the mission of Waterfields is to grow high-quality produce for the regional Cincinnati market while creating living wage jobs in economically challenged communities. So our focus right now is to use degraded buildings like the one we're in now.
Which is right on West 8th Street.
It's right on West 8th. In its former glory, it was a matzo ball factory or a matzo factory. But now it's a studio space and storage space. But we found a way of bringing in a few elements to redeem the space and create it or recreate it as a productive place for microgreens to be grown.
And microgreens, what are microgreens? And I'll tilt, but we're holding a tray here. What are microgreens?
Well, microgreens are can be as many varieties of vegetables, but they're only grown out from anywhere to 8 days to 40 days of maturity, depending on the variety. Typically, we like to pull ours when the true leaves are just first coming on. They start to express the texture of the first true leaf, and that's when they're at they're just beautiful and have incredible flavors.
So what is this? What is this particular plant?
This variety is called red vein sorrel.
Okay.
It's kind of got a citrusy blast, and I brought it today just because it's one of our beautiful varieties.
Yeah.
Like you got that green leaf with the red vein, and with Christmas coming up, it seemed appropriate.
So this is a tray, and who are you selling to right now?
Well, we're selling to many restaurants around the city. For example, we sell to Orchids at Palm Court, Boca, Jean Robert's Table, a lot of the new restaurants in OTR like Salazar and Kaze and Kwan Hapa, and more.
And when you sell to a restaurant like that, you're selling the trays. You're not harvesting and then sending. You're selling the trays themselves.
No,
right?
that's right. What we do is we bring it to them live. This is something that makes us meaningfully unique to the chefs beyond the appearance and the flavor. It's the freshness. A lot of our competitors are flying in products from California and Florida, and so it's cut in a clamshell and it's dying. So you might only get 3 days, whereas our chefs can enjoy, 2 to 3 weeks of freshness out of this tray.
Because in the bottom of this tray, and you can't see it now, but in the bottom of this tray, there's a medium
Yep.
where the seeds were sprinkled on it, and these plants are still growing right
Exactly.
now.
Yeah, these plants are alive. They're growing in an inert media. We grow right now all hydroponic, and so we're not taking soil into the kitchens of these fine restaurants. It's very clean. You could actually pick up the media and shake the microgreens a little bit and put it right back in, and still use it. It's something very special.
Well, that's one market.
Yes.
You're also exploring a second market.
Yeah, we've been selling a retail pack of microgreens so that anyone can get a hold of them. They're available at Madison's at Finley Market and Clifton Natural Foods. And this variety right here is called China Rose. Pink stems. It's got a very good radish flavor, a little spice to it. We have several other varieties as well available at stores so that the home chef can bring that Epicurean experience and garnish and enhance their plates at home.
Well, and this too is still growing, even though it's in
Exactly,
this
yeah.
clamshell, and you take this home. This is still a growing plant. You don't have to use it instantly. It will continue to grow.
Yeah,
a bit.
you can keep it in your refrigerator, and it just thinks a cold snap rolled in, and so it shuts down for a little bit and just waits for it to get warm again. But when you pull it out of the fridge, you're going to eat it.
So Madison's and Finley Market.
Madison's and Clifton Natural Foods.
And Clifton
up in
Natural
Ludlow.
Foods. Okay. And when you say local, what is your market? Is it just the city of Cincinnati? Is it how far do you think of as your market?
We, over the past year, we've really gone after the city of Cincinnati and focused on Cincinnati, downtown, Northern Kentucky, OTR, out to Kenwood, out Merrimont, and within the 275 loop.
Okay.
But just recently we started branching out into Dayton as well. And we're looking to other markets.
What's really interesting to me about this, besides the business itself and the food, is the social mission that you have, that you mentioned in your mission statement as you stated that. You are looking to create jobs. Now, right now, you're still a very small business.
Yes.
But you've already outgrown where you are. You're about to move, and all those kinds of things. What's the social part of this? Develop that idea a little bit.
Well, I guess the best place to start is we got hooked in with Dr. Victor Garcia of Core Change.
Who has been on this show.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, his whole thing is finding market-based solutions to urban poverty. And we decided as we were starting our business that we wanted to be a part of that. And so the jobs at Waterfields are entry-level jobs where we're looking for individuals, simply a GED, TABE A, level 6, or a diploma. And a lot of our training is on the job. And this is just something that, yes, the job is technical. Yes, you have to be trained in order to execute, but we're working very hard to remove as many barriers as possible that may have been in front of people in the past.
And one of the things I want to stress here is that when I visited, the cleanliness aspect of this, because you've gotten all kinds of approvals.
Yeah.
And so there's really this isn't just going out and digging in the dirt. Not only isn't there any dirt, but it is very carefully done.
Yeah, we're very proud about our USDA certification, GAP certification.
So people will be trained. Let's say in the next 3 years, if you continue to grow this and you start it small on purpose, what is your estimate about how many people you might be able to employ?
Well, in the microgreen sector of the business, if we blow that out and meet our projections, in 3 years we're looking at about 30, 35 individuals, and that would be community hires, the idea of like entry-level jobs where we're advancing folks internally. And then with the other markets that we're considering, I'm really not sure. It seems to be just as encouraging.
Okay, but 30 jobs in Lower Price Hill is a big influx, so that is wonderful. So what you're doing here is great. And by the way, stuff tastes great. I was able to sample lots of stuff on Tuesday, and it really is fascinating. To learn more about Waterfields, check out their website at waterfields.com or call 513-579-7539. You can also follow them on Facebook and Twitter. Daniel, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
For those who watched last week's show, Chip Gerhardt was here to talk about the struggle to get the ABLE Act to allow parents and grandparents to use 529 accounts to save money for disabled children. At the time we taped on Friday morning, the Senate still had not acted. On Tuesday night, the Senate finally voted and passed the ABLE Act after 8 years of grassroots work. A very happy Chip Gerhardt called me. He and his family, including his daughter Ann, who has Down syndrome, plan to go to the White House when the President signs the bill. Congratulations to Chip and Ann, who I know will talk all kinds of things to President Obama, and everybody who worked hard to exercise democracy. Millions of Americans will benefit in the future because of your determination and skill. Have a wonderful holidays, everybody, and join us again next Sunday for Local 12 Newsmakers. Have a good week.
Stay right.